walking the streets of downtown Carson City is a perfect way to immerse yourself in Nevada's history. But if you want to kick it up a notch and bring the stories of our capital to life, then you have to take the Ghost Walk led by Madame Curry. I am dressed up as a theatrical, fictional version of the widow of the founder of Carson City. Her name is Mary Ann Cohen Curry, but I have given her the title of Madame Curry. So where is Madame Curry going to take us this evening? Tonight we're going to walk through the Victorian west side of Carson City, and this is really special because Carson City has one of the most intact Victorian historical sides on the West Coast. And we shall now traverse through the history of Carson City.
At each stop along the tour, we learn about the history of the buildings and the spirits that reside there.
So we have to stop at Aunt Bee's, which was once the stagecoach depot. And there was a young man who loved to take care of these horses. He was very good at it. And he liked to dress up quite nicely, and he wore a little black hat. And one day, they found him. He had been kicked by a horse, and he was lying dead by one of these horses in the stable. But sometimes people see this young gentleman walking through this area. And sometimes I like to think of him and how I might connect him with some of the other single spirits that are in the realm. You'll meet them as well tonight. So we are outside of the Ferris Mansion. Now, the Ferris Mansion is famous for the Ferris family, and what do you think they invented? Ferris wheel. The Ferris Mansion, though, is most famous for its ghosts.
One of those ghosts is said to be a young bride in a tattered Victorian gown who vanished on her wedding day.
Of course, gossip turned out in the town like it often does. She loved someone else. She ran off. She was scared. And after 100 years, a young couple bought that Victorian-like farmhouse. And as they looked through the house for all of the treasures, they ended up in the attic. And they found this beautiful old wooden box. And inside was a beautiful old Victorian wedding gown. And as they pulled it out, there were the bones of this young bride inside of this trunk that locked from the outside, only to be found 100 years later. So it's starting to get dark, which means it's a little bit spooky. We might get some spirit action. This is one of the oldest buildings in Carson City as well. It's been used for so many things, a newspaper, and of course a brewery. The construction oftentimes will start to awaken the spirits. And so upstairs there were little tornadoes, little interesting happenings without the windows being open. Something was happening upstairs. And as that happened, people started to meet this man on the stairwell, Mr. Marr, started to ask each other who they thought he was. But as they finished the ballroom, there was a long picture of the Masons who used to meet in this building. And in that picture, there appears this man in a light-colored vest and a little black hat who looks just like the man that people see on the stairs. So I have a spirit wrangler with me right here. It's Madame Curry's daughter, and along the way, she's been telling me some little hints about these homes. And this one in particular, there's a spirit that walks these grounds. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this is actually Mark Twain, famous for Mark Twain. So Orion Clemens, his daughter Jenny Clemens, she's the ghost of this house. She apparently died at the age of 8. She was very sick. So We've actually had some of our tourists take pictures of that window and see
That one right above us.
yeah, and there's a little profile of a little blonde girl in the window. So that's the one that they see the most, and the rocking chair in here is the one that moves back and forth.
That's an original rocking chair that they've had here for a long time.
Yeah.
So a lot of the items currently in the home are still from that era?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
How remarkable is that?
Right.
Well, thanks for sharing that story.
Of course,
All right,
of
let's get
course.
back to the tour.
All right.
So we have to stop at the Edwards house because this is one of the most fascinating buildings here in Carson City. It's made of sandstone from Abe Curry's quarry, and the quarry is at the prison. And Thomas Edwards was the superintendent of that prison. But we've also learned that Thomas Edwards, he was using prison labor to build this house. And if you look at these beautiful stones, the prisoners at the time who were making these stones would sign them. They would put their initials in the stones so someone would remember them. And this is one of the first houses that paranormal investigators decided they wanted to check out. And sometimes they'd spend the night, but most of the time they'd leave early because there seems to be a very heavy energy at the top of the stairs. And there was a closet right off the top of the stairs. He would keep his prisoners in this closet because he brought them here to help him build this house. Every time you see the sandstone from Abe Curry's quarry, you'll know each individual block means something to someone who wants to be remembered. That's sometimes why spirits travel and still remain on this earth, because they're not finished. And we can help as we remember them and as we learn their stories.
Things are getting pretty spooky on this tour.
And behind us, of course, the governor's mansion has so many ghosts, as politics do. And the Dickerson family was the first family to move in, and they were quite fabulous. Mrs. Dickerson was one of the best dressers Carson City has ever seen. Sometimes you can see her ghost, her long white dress going up the beautiful staircase. Or you'll hear the haunted clock, and the clock goes off when it wants to. And there's been governors who've cut the cord, and the clock still goes. We've taken you on a tour into the past, and we hope you've fallen in love with Carson City and the people that helped pioneer and make this town, whose entrepreneurial spirit still carries us forward.
So we just finished the Ghost Walk, and I highly recommend coming here not only to learn about our history, but it's a great place to see if the spirits may or may not be roaming here in Carson City. Until next time, I'm Samantha Chion. Spirit of Nevada is proudly brought to you by Richard Harris Law Firm. For more information, visit richardharrislaw.com. Watch new episodes of Spirit of Nevada on the channels listed below.